this session where we will be discussing about computer networks, evolution of computers and the types of computers. Now the networking or evolution or the types of computer basically looks like fundamental set of concepts, but they are something which play a very major role, because unless a computer is in a network or connected, we will not be able to share the resources. The definition of network simply goes like this. A network is interconnected computing devices to exchange and share resources with each other. Now when you connect two devices, they are supposed to share the resources or talk to each other. Now that is possible with multiple devices. We can have a wired connections to enable this network, or we can also have a wireless network of connections. So basically there are three types of networking connections. To start with, we have local area network. So the possibility here is it could be between two computers, the smallest of the network. So when you connect these two devices, they start communicating to each other by sharing multiple resources. A resource could be a device, a file or a data or any set of activities. It could even be something like a remote control of activities. Now let us just dwell and understand more about LAN, local area network, MAN, metropolitan area network, and WAN, wide area network. A local area network is typically a single or a smallest network. As I said few minutes ago, it could be between two computers or a smaller home or an office network. Now individuals or for smaller purpose, we need to connect these computers where a small office setup might have to share a printer from one department to another department, or it might be something like a data which is stored from a server to a client machine. Now we understand the concept of server and client. The machine which is providing the service is called as server, and the machine, the computer machine which is receiving the service, is called as the client. And there could also be a computer which acts as both server and client, and that machine is called as a peer. Now you set up various workstations based on the type of connections of networks you want. So a local area network is limited for a smaller area or a zone or individual purpose. We might see in business applications like a small medical store or a provision store might have one or two computers connected, and maybe multiple devices like a printer or some other networking devices are connected to these smaller network. Now what do we do if we want a bigger network? Now the solution for that is MAN, or what we call metropolitan area network. Now the local area network can further be extended with other networking resources up to a zone, let us say like an industrial setup or a small campus, it could be extended. Now beyond that, if we want to extend, it would be difficult to share the resources. Now there is where we have metropolitan area network. A metropolitan area network might be up to 30 to 50 kilometers or across a city. Now we need to plan devices which would enable these connections. So a metropolitan area network is a city-wide network which is established for a specific purpose. Some decades ago, some of the cable networks would establish these site of networks, and the network would run with the help of a wire across the city, passing through all houses or offices to enable that network connectivity. Now today it is possible to achieve this with the help of Wi-Fi, or what we call it as wireless fidelity. A metropolitan area network had its own advantage when you had to share resources across a certain limit of geography. Now what do we do if I want to move further and increase the horizon of network. We need a wider area or wider coverage area. In this case, we may have to go and adapt WWW, or what you call wide area network. A wide area network is enabled with the help of an internet connection. Internet, the definition goes like this: interconnection of network or networks. Now this is usually for a large geographical area, often spanning across cities, countries or continents. The best example is, as we said already, like internet. So it could connect LANs and other type of networks over long distance. Now whether it is a LAN or local area network, MAN, a metropolitan area network, or wide area network, each of them are useful based on the kilometers or the coverage or the geographies up to which the service is required. The concept of WWW has enabled wireless technologies across different devices with boundless geographical limitations. This simply means that anybody can connect to any corner of the world with a simple internet connectivity. Now Web3, or what we call as like the World Wide Web Consortium, gives lot of guidelines, frames policies and enables measures for the functioning of Web Consortium. So having understood all these concepts, we might be wondering, how does one establish an internet connectivity? There are a lot of internet service providers, or what we call ISPs, internet service providers. Now these days we don't have to worry much. A simple call can enable an internet connection. All we need to have is the device. A simple device like your smartphone can also be enabled with internet connectivity with a local setup inside the house with a router which enables Wi-Fi connectivity with the small digital devices like your phone, wristwatch, other sensor devices, or maybe like a particular set of device which is designed for security purpose like CCTV or any other device. Now this has also led to lot of business developments. So the concept of internet today has enabled seamless opportunities like Internet of Things. The devices are able to talk to each other and with the help of these connectivities. Now that tells us the scope of World Wide Web or Internet. Apart from what we discussed now, there could also be few other types of networks which are mentioned in situations like a campus area network. Now this itself tells very clearly it is a network which is restricted for a particular campus or an area. Similarly, you can also have a virtual private network which has been set up to enable the devices whom you want to be connected at that point of time virtually. There could also be a smallest network which is personalized like personal area network, PAN. Apart from that, you might also have enterprise private network like EPN. Now all these might be using one of the networking structures which enables the purpose of that connectivity. We also have storage area network. A storage area network simply means a block level data storage which is majorly designed for data storing, accessing and movements. So today we cannot imagine any connections without network, because without network no activities would be possible to be shared or connected or performed. So most of the devices today are either connected with wire or wireless technologies. We have Wi-Fi, WiMAX and other Bluetooth enabled connectivities for smaller zones, while Wi-Fi and WiMAX are for larger areas. Having understood about network, Let us now try to explore how computers evolved, the generation of computers. It's quite interesting to know that how it all started, what was developed and where we stand today. If you look at this particular slide, you understand we can classify the generation of computers into 5 generations. The first generation computer were designed during the Second World War, maybe like between 1940s to 1956, and the second generation computers were between 1956 to 63. The third generation computer between 1964 to 71, and the fourth generation is almost from 71 to, let's say, like 2020 or 25, maybe like even today. And we also have a pace where we are at the next level, but we can't tell we have completely evolved. So fifth generation computers, what we call. So let us try to understand how it evolved. In the first generation computers, we need to understand those time electronics and other devices were not so well designed or popularly available. They had something called as vacuum tubes, which would get heated very quickly, and it required replacement frequently. Now because of this, it would become very expensive because you had to change the vacuum tubes frequently to make the computer function. The other limitations were it occupied a large size, and also the number of calculations it would do or the speed of the computer was very slow. Now over a period of time, as and when technology was redesigned, improved, during the second generation computers, transistors were invented. As in any case, when any technology is newly invented, it's quite expensive and not available everywhere. That was the case of transistors. Though they were reducing the size and improving performance wise, since it was expensive, majority of the computer sector people could not buy and incorporate that in their components. The next generation saw a great revolution. ICs, integrated circuits. So these integrated circuits enabled ultra large scale or very large scale integration, which could increase the speed of computer and enable lot of data processing capabilities. Now that was one of the greatest period where lot of improvements occurred during the third generation computers. Maybe around 70s, there were lot of developments in the electronic industry. The chips, microchips were getting invented. The microprocessors enabled lot of positive and very faster improvements in the device. The size was reduced, the speed was increased, and the performance was much efficient. The fourth generation computer were used by majority of the organizations, and this is also called as a golden period because some of the IT companies evolved during this period. Now this was the period where a lot of developments parallelly occurred in terms of hardware and software concepts. Majority of the hardware devices were getting improvised and softwares were getting designed. This contributed to today's nano concepts of computer, where micro components are designed and the computer size has reduced to a very greater extent. So today when we look at the fifth generation computer, we also call it like quantum computing, or people also call it as the AI era or AI computers. Now with every generation we could see lot of developments as and when the computer components were developed, the processing ability developed. So there is Moore's concept, which is particular on the exponential growth of the number of transistors which were used in computers, and later like how the number of microprocessors would be exponentially used to increase the efficiency of the computers. That all has become true today. Today, a computer might have a very nano-sized enabled chip integrated on it, which is very, very efficient and very faster. Now, with all this, we need to understand there are a lot of positive developments which might be useful for an individual computer or for the larger computers like maybe mainframes or supercomputers, which we are going to discuss very shortly. Now let us try to understand the different types of computers. We have personal computers, which is personalized, or maybe a computer which is useful for individuals' requirement, and that's why it's called as a personal computer. A personal computer could be a desktop, laptop, or a tab, or an handheld device. This basically is used by an individual or smaller group to fulfill the personalized requirements, and that is the reason it's called as a personal computer. These days, majority of the students use different type of computers, and we see like some of the college students using like student edition laptops, which might have a smaller applications or limited applications. Now that is what is the possibility in a personal computer, where you can customize based on the requirement. Now moving forward, we have mainframes. Now what if you need a larger computer to process, store, or distribute huge amount of data, or you want multiple users to be connected at the same time and still function efficiently. Now this is where you need a mainframe computer. It is said that there are around 10,000 mainframe computers used by larger organizations like bank servers or email servers of a logistics companies. Now a mainframe computer usually has a higher capacity of processing. The amount of data what it can store is huge and the speed is enormous. When we say it is a bank server, it has to simultaneously perform maybe thousands of activities at a time. So imagine the ability of the CPU to slot the time to handle all these activities simultaneously. Now that's where mainframes need to be very fast and efficient, and that's how they are designed. Now when you talk about supercomputers, the number of supercomputers in the world is not known, but it is said that there might be a very few countable number of supercomputers. Any nation would take it as a pride when they own a supercomputer, because it has the highest like efficiency in processing, storing, security, whatever terms we talk in computers, it is all at the highest levels, and it is one of the most super powerful computer. Now in India we have CDAC developed Airavat, which is also rated as the 75th best computer in terms of AI applications for our supercomputer. Now we also had earlier versions of supercomputers which were used for higher purpose like defense, weather forecasting, the country's national geographic data, or beyond that. Supercomputers are used to solve complex scientific problems and are used by larger organizations. Maybe in our case what we were discussing, the country is using a supercomputer. So imagine all the country's data pertaining to the highest level security is maintained by that supercomputer. EI Capitan is the world's fastest supercomputer. Now in India we have Airavat, or simply abbreviated as AIRAWAT, which means AI Research Analytics and Knowledge Dissemination Platform, which is developed by Center for Development of Advanced Computing, CDAC, Pune, under the initiative of Ministry of Electronics and IT, Government of India. Now this is ranked as the 136th best computer, supercomputer, and 75th fastest AI computer. The system has been ranked 75th in world, and it was declared so in 61st edition of top 500 global supercomputing list at the International Supercomputing Conference ISC 2023 in Germany. It puts India on top of AI supercomputing nations worldwide. Now we need to really take pride that we have the ability as a nation to develop our own supercomputer. If you're interested, you should go and see the efforts of CDAC scientists in creating the supercomputers for India since its beginning. That's quite an adventurous story. Now with supercomputer, we take pride, and we might also understand that in coming days we have the ability to create many more supercomputers. It is said that the world's top 5 supercomputers are owned by US, followed by Japan. So that also tells like how countries are behind to design, create and own a supercomputer. The reason is the supercomputer really makes one country very super powerful. Supercomputers deliver many advantages, and that is the reason why countries want to own and create a supercomputer. With this, let us look into some of the interesting facts about the topics what we discussed. Here are few slides. Let us quickly look into the highlights of this session. In this session, we discussed more about the types of network, evolution of computers, and then the types of computers. Thank you.